Good afternoon, and I'm really so happy to be here. Grateful to Rohit and the NN team for having me here. There's one another person who is also very happy, and that's my wife. She takes care of the finances and the academics as well as oversees the organization of the foundation. For the last 20 years, she's been telling me to look into the finances, to take an understanding of the financial difficulties that she faces during our foundation, taking of equipment which are so high. I've never been doing so. Rohit accomplished this the moment he said that you have to talk for 10 minutes on the right purchase decision and why. So the right purchase decision and why, and medical equipment is all the time becoming more and more expensive, shorter in time spans, and you have to upgrade as soon as possible, not only because the quality of the equipment is better, but also your peers are going ahead with the equipment. So what you want to achieve by acquiring these medical equipment, the excellence, of course, you have to progress, you have to grow, you have to provide the state of art to all your patients for whom you have to be honest. And also you have to stay ahead where you want to be. And to stay ahead, you have to keep running to stay the same place. That's Lewis Carroll. So what triggers, again, the medical equipment buy? And the buyers, 3 out of 5, take into account the clinical aspect of the medical equipment that they buy. Nearly half want to have it as cheap as possible. Therefore, the balance between quality of the equipment that you need to buy and the economics is important. So we bought, and at the foundation, we put our heads together, we unmask ourselves, we thrash out the details whenever we need to buy a new equipment. So we made a decision, and we bought the flax at the foundation. So what would it do? Yes, so many controversies, so many this ways and that, but ultimately, it would add value to our patients and to our practice. So we contemplated, and we lost time. Little did we realize that we needed to buy it, and we should have bought it long ago. And the questions that were glaring at us, and possibly actually taking us backwards, is our practice actually such that we can afford this machine? Will it be viable to run this machine? The costs, the fixed costs, the overheads, would we be able to pay for it? And we had to identify that sweet spot for the patient, how much the patient could pay, and how ethically could we market this equipment. So the equipment has to be robust, it has to be tried and tested, and there has to be the support from the company, the team that would give us that support when we need it for the maintenance, for the durability, and thereby we took this machine, and it's been 1.5 years. What we should have done, we should have taken it 2.5 years back. So the benefits of adopting this technology is the best practice patterns and giving the state of the art. And this is one thing that I want to harp on. There are books that say that in your practice, you should have brick walls so that you can forge ahead. In group practice and what we practice, we take down these walls. We invite our colleagues not as competitors, but as inducements to come and do their surgeries at our center, and it's for no additional cost. So we pull down the competitive practices. It earns us better revenues, and patient outcomes are better. more of good word goes on to our patients. Economics is the next part that we need to talk about, and economics is so important when we need to buy. And the need for understanding economics is something that one should not simply put it onto the head of the chartered accountant. You need to know, because you are the buyer, you have to validate, you have to know what is break-even, what is the cost that you're incurring, and then you need to think of the next buy that you're going to do. And these economic issues are important because every equipment is an expensive equipment, whether it is a phacoemulsification machine, or it is the femtosecond, or the excimer laser. And therefore, there has to be an appropriate charge for the procedure. There has to be an anticipated revenue per year so that your chartered accountant doesn't say that, doctor, you are running at a loss. The estimated expenses per year, the volume required to break even, and this is so important, and we shall take up a small example for this, and the estimated financial returns of this equipment that you have bought. Passion is why we are all here today. But the economic sense should be at the backdrop, and that should prevail. So let's take an example, and we buy an excimer laser worth 2 crores. And what are the procedure costs of this excimer laser? Let us look into the fixed expenses or the cost, the salary, the maintenance, the electricity, the rent, the overheads, and they all come up to a fixed cost per year. Here it is 89 lakhs. Now let us look into the variable expenses, and that would include the blade, the gas, the disposables, the medical supplies, and there is again a number for the variable cost per year. The procedure charges, how much are you going to charge the patient on this particular procedure that you're giving him at a benefit or at an advantage for his eyes. So the cost-based pricing and a competitive-based pricing, a balance has to be there for both of this. And now to the break-even volume. The chartered accountant will always say, doctor, how early can you recover the cost of this equipment? And you would be very happy to say, I would want time. But time is not time, because time is money. And remember, these company people are going to take away this equipment in 3 to 5 years' time. They would like to say it is redundant, we do not have servicing contracts, and you have to buy again. So the break-even, the loss and profit is so important. Now let's look at this small table, and it gives you the fixed expenses, the variable expenses, and a procedure per year. On the right-hand side column, it is 800, and on the other column, it's 1,035. So if you look into the net surplus, if you're doing 800 procedures at a charge of 10,000 per procedure, this is just an example, then what you have is a loss of 20 lakhs. Whereas, if you're doing 1,035, just about 300 procedures more, then you have a break-even. So you need to know what the break-even is, and at times, the difference between the break-even and the loss procedure is not much. Now, this again is something that I don't understand very well, the capital investment analysis. But we need to understand what it gives us. And this is a very, very busy slide. I don't know if you can make out anything of this, but there is something called the ROI. That is the return on investment. And it shows an analysis of the 5 years. And you have to be very clear with the company that it is for 5 years that you are going to have this equipment. Whatever upgrades, whatever betterments, they all have to come at minimal cost for this 5 years, because you have to take out and make a profit of this equipment in 5 years' time. So the ROI can be fixed at something like 17% or 20%. Here this shows a 17% ROI. And if you have to increase the ROI or the return on investment, then what you have to do is either increase the number of procedures or increase the procedure cost, or both. And the both system works best, because if you increase the procedure cost, you might get lesser number of patients. But in the second year, when your procedure is well established and people are going in for example, the femtosecond laser or the SMILE technology, then you can gradually increase the procedure, because you already have a rise on the procedure values. So this is in a nutshell in what I thought I would share with you. Some of them I do not understand so well, but some I understand very well. The main important thing that I understand well is the passion that we need to have for the procedure and for the growth and progress of the procedure. If that is intact, everything, ladies and gentlemen, everything falls into place. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.